Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we're talking about the top 10 cards that I think new players should try and craft as soon as possible. So these cards aren't necessarily going to be the best cards ever, but I think they're going to be really good and user friendly no matter how you play them. Assuming you don't just play them in a really dumb way. You have to play them somewhat sensibly. So number 10, no particular order really, but yeah, number 10, Propeller Scratch. So Propeller Scratch are flying. What makes them so useful is that they can whittle down an enemy opponent's melee minion. Probably won't kill the melee minion on the ground floor, on the floor, but they will, whittle his health down and maybe kill him if you're lucky. But also, what makes them very, very useful is they're a 2-mana bridge control unit, so you can play them on top of a bridge and make the bridge neutral or make it instantly captured. So they are kind of useful for that. So that's number 1/10. In numbers 2/9, I'm going to stop doing that joke now with Ghost Turret. Ghost Turret is really, really good for profiting. He's only 3 mana, but you can usually kill a 4 mana unit with him, or maybe even a 5 mana unit if you're very lucky. He's not as good as he once was, but he is still very good at profiting. And to make things even better, to sweeten the deal, he gives you a random spirit on death. So when he runs out of health, he'll just give a random spirit to somebody, and that's really useful if you've got a minion on the field. If you haven't got a minion on the field, then you're not going to get any value out of that spirit. So try and make sure you've got a minion on the field as soon as he dies. And yeah, one tip though is that he can't attack flying minions, which makes him, it is one weakness, but he more than makes up for it with the spirit. The spirit is just so useful. I can't stress how useful the spirit is at just applying more pressure to your opponent. So Ghost Turret is definitely deserving of a spot on the list. Next up is Plasma Marines. Now these guys are really useful for capturing both the bridges, because there's 2 of them, and they're pretty decent at just chunking through just hordes and stuff. They've got a pretty high rate of fire, somewhat low damage, but it's made up for with the high rate of fire. And yeah, you can kill a Scrat Horde with them. You can probably just about kill some drone. No, you can't kill drone buzzers with them. That's the one thing. That's like kind of a weakness of theirs, actually. You can't kill drone buzzers, so don't play them up against drone buzzers. You'd think they'd be able to kill them, but they can't. Anyway, yeah. So Plasma Marines, they're just a solid kind of unit. I think they're very, very useful, and as long as you don't play them in front of a Reckonator, then you should be good to go. Plus, they look cool. Yeah, they look cool. I like their gun design and their helmet design. The gun design reminds me of Killzone Shadowfall. Anyone remember that game? I do. Next up is Scrat Horde. Probably one of my favourite cards in the entire game. It's good at any level. I'd say that they're used probably in the meta quite a lot. So, yeah, they're good for capturing bridges. There's so many of them, you can just play them in the middle, split them off. They capture both bridges fine. They're also good for instantly capturing the bridge, just like I said earlier with the Propeller Scratch. You can just sort of shove them on there and they'll capture it. Or alternatively, their biggest thing is profiting. Like a psychotic businessman, you can just surround an enemy minion that is 7 mana. For example, the most obvious example is the blue golem. If an enemy stone golem walks into your side of the field and you play a Scrat Horde and surround him, he will not have the attack speed necessary to kill all the Scrats. So you can just play all the Scrats and melt his health away. All their little scavenged makeshift shivs will whittle away at his health and eventually kill him, assuming he doesn't get any kind of spell or minion support. So yeah, Scrat Horde, an amazing card, one of my favourites, probably my top 3. So yeah, definitely deserves to be crafted as soon as possible. Next up is Stun Lancers. Now Stun Lancers are good for 3 reasons. I'd say number 1, they're good for thinking time. If you can stun an enemy minion that's maybe expensive, you can just stun him, and then you can maybe think a bit more about what you want to do next. And they're also good for just sort of, if you want to pin an enemy in place and then save up some mana to play a big minion to crush the enemy minion that's also big, that's being kept stunned. So yeah, Stun Lancers are really good. They're also okay at bridge control because there's 2 of them, and sometimes you can really kind of throw off your opponent if you split them off in the middle. It's a bit kind of, I don't know, it's like they can't be sniped off with 1 spell, so it's kind of difficult sometimes to kill 2 Stun Lancers when they're split off. So yeah, that's another good thing. And also the third reason they're good is that they can stop a cleaver before the cleaver attacks. So if you play them in front of a cleaver, assuming they don't have summoning sickness, play them like a couple of seconds before he attacks, then they can get the stun in before he attacks. So that's really good. that's just a fun little tip, and it's cool that Stun Lancer can do that. Next I'm putting up Whirly Scrap. He's really good for a few reasons, just like Stun Lancers. He has loads of health. 350 is quite a lot of health, especially for 4 mana. In fact, I think he's probably the he's got the most health in the 4 mana category. So that's really good. Another reason he's good is his AoE attack. So he's really good at killing any Hoard minion, any type of Horde, skeletons, scrats, swarmers. He's good at killing all of them. And he also, if he attacks the enemy tower, then it sort of puts the opponent in a difficult situation where they can't really respond with hordes. They have to kill him either through a big tanky minion like a Woodsman, or they have to kill them with a strong ranged minion like a ATG drone or something like that. Because otherwise he's just going to stay around for a while. And whilst his DPS isn't the best, it's still going to be probably an annoying amount of damage, and any damage is kind of annoying at the tower. So yeah, Whirly Scrap is a really sticky minion that's kind of hard to get rid of sometimes. So he's just really good, and I recommend him in anybody's pack. So get him while he's hot, I guess. Next is Defensive Chopper, the ultimate counter to so many cards. He can counter a lot of cards that are way more expensive than him. So for example, Marge Red, 10 mana card that is completely destroyed by Defensive Chopper. Reconator as well for 7 mana, cannot stand up to the Defensive Chopper. And also he's quite good at killing cards that are a similar cost to him as well. So the aforementioned Whirly Scrap as well, cannot deal with him. And also Incubus as well is a pretty good way to stop a Defensive Chopper. Sorry, I said that the other way around. As Defensive Chopper is good at stopping an Incubus. So yeah, I mean, Defensive Chopper doesn't have much damage at all really, doesn't have much DPS. But his main strength is the stun attack, which whenever he takes damage from a melee minion, he stuns the enemy and does quite a bit of damage to them. So yeah, really good. He can also just take out many different types of hordes as well, so scrats, swarmers, skeletons. It's all good for Defensive Chopper. It's probably the most useful scrat card in the game, I'd probably say. Of all the many useful scrat cards, there's plenty of scrat cards that are really good, but Defensive Chopper has got to be probably the most useful. Next up is Scratillary. This is the only spell that I have in the list. So Scratillary is just really good. It's 5 mana, so 1 more mana than a fireball, but I feel like Scratillary is just a bit easier to use than a fireball. A fireball sometimes I sometimes play it and I'm like, is that going to kill that? And then it doesn't kill the thing I was looking to try and kill, and then I'm like, oh, that's depressing. But with Scratillary, I feel like it's reliable and it usually gets the kill. And if not, just maybe the scrats that come out of the rockets will get the kill. Usually not, but yeah, you never know. I don't know. There are plenty of damage spells in this game that cause explosions and stuff, but I just chose Scratillary because I found it to be the most reliable personally. But you could just go with a good old fireball, I guess. Next up is Woodsman. So Woodsman is just like a Caber Tosser in every way, except he doesn't have a Caber to throw. But I suppose you could argue that Caber Tosser is just as good as Woodsman. Woodsman is just really bulky, tanky kind of guy. He does a lot of damage as well, so he's pretty good at just doing damage to the enemy tower if you can get him there. Also has Revelry, so if you've got 2 in your deck, you save it for 10 mana, you can play them both together. The only weakness he has really is his slow attack speed, which can be forgiven considering the huge axe he's carrying around. So that's fair enough. But yeah, he's really good. Does a lot of damage, so just get him to the enemy tower and you should be good to go. Alright, final card now, and I'm kind of cheating here to be honest, but they're both just as useful as each other. This is the Sharak twins, and I'm not talking about this card, I'm talking about the Incubus and the Succubus individually. So there's two. Don't craft this card if you're new to the game. Do not craft Sharak twins because it is kind of a hard card to use. But these 2 cards individually are really good. So Incubus is really good. He does loads and loads of damage. Yeah, loads and loads of DPS. It sounds weird. So he does loads of damage. If you can get to the enemy tower, he just has a really high attack speed. Also has a sort of cleave ability where he can sort of cleave through minions, and that's really good for killing Hoard. It's kind of like Whirly Scrat's attack, but just in front of him where he attacks, rather than a full 360 circle around. So yeah, Incubus is really good at killing Hordes as well. The only thing that can really sort of counter him well is Defense Chopper, as I said. Also, Incubus can nether step towards ranged minions, which means just basically teleporting towards them. Although he only does that in a certain range, so if a sniper snipes him from halfway across the battlefield, don't expect him to just teleport to the sniper and just stab his face in, because he won't do that. But you know, if a crossbowman shoots at him, then he'll teleport towards the crossbowman. So yeah, also Succubus as well is also very, very good. She is quite a high damage for a ranged minion. She does quite a lot of damage. She also nether steps away whenever she gets attacked by a melee minion. So she's pretty good at killing hordes. Although, I suppose her strength really is her high damage and range. So she's pretty good at killing all manner of flying minions and stuff. And she's just a really useful card. I'd probably say out of the two, Incubus is slightly better. Oh, well, maybe more user-friendly, but Succubus, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, maybe I can't really choose between them, but they're both good. Maybe Incubus is more user-friendly. Yeah. They are probably, I think they're the most expensive things to craft on this list though, yeah, because they're both supreme. So, you just got to bear that in mind. I'd probably go for any of these before you go for the Sharak twins. But, yeah. I suppose I'll quickly just mention some honourable mentions as well. So, I suppose Grenadier and Stint are very good. Wolf Among Sheep is pretty good if you can split them down so they're not vulnerable to a fireball or anything like that. They're also quite good. Aimbot is very good, and so is Drone Walker. They're both pretty good. ACG Drone is amazing for damage. It does a lot of damage. Shooter Crossbow Dudes as well, very useful, though probably not quite as user-friendly as other cards. Still very, very useful to have if you know how to use them properly. Laser Turret is very, very useful indeed, extremely useful in fact. In fact, you know, this probably could be in top 10 here, Laser Turret. It is very, very good. You can, I think I've said good about a million times, but yeah, you can plunk him down, and he'll hopefully get way more than 5 minus value, if you're lucky. You can attack a big minion, and the more he attacks that big minion, the more damage per second he does, and eventually, hopefully, he'll kill the big minion, and you'll have got a mana profit of probably 2 or 3, possibly 4, as long as you kill the enemy minion. And then, on top of that, he might get a few more kills as well, on just some dudes. So, yeah, Laser Turret is excellent. Very, very good indeed. Finally, I've just got a few more tips just to tell new players. I would say stay away from the global chat, because pretty much like only idiots talk in the global chat most of the time. Also, there's this a kind of weird idea. I saw people whinging about in the global chat actually about how this game is pay to win, and it really isn't. It's actually probably the single most fair free-to-play game I've ever played. This is the top deck at the moment, so gold is legendary, purple is supreme, the second rarest, blue is rare, and then finally common is the common. So yeah, we can see this is the top one. It's got you know four legendaries in there, so that's that's quite an expensive deck to craft. However, the second one is all commons and 1 rare, so that is so cheap. So you just easily make that yourself, probably by playing for about 12 hours if you want. So it's really easy to make. Next one has got a couple of commons in it. Legendary, sorry, so that's kind of hard to make, but we'll go on to the next one with nothing but rares and commons and 1 supreme. So again, I mean, probably like 30 hours and you'll have this deck. So probably less than that, honestly, if you know what you're doing. It's just so easy. Next one's got a couple of legendaries. We'll move on. Okay, this deck by Pom. He has a deck that's made nothing but rare and commons. Again, really easy to make. It's just, yeah, the idea that this deck is, this game, sorry, is pay to win is so ridiculous. Because it really isn't. There's so many, all the good cards are common. A lot of the legendary cards are actually very niche and very situational. You probably won't need them most of the time. A lot of them are very, very kind of hard to use. So the common cards are so much better most of the time. You get way better cards in the common. And common's only 50 shards to make, so 50 shards is very easy to get. So yeah, this game is very, very fair. One of the fairest, probably the most fair free-to-play game I've ever played. And I'm not a shill, by the way. I haven't been paid by anyone to say that. Not that anyone would pay me. I've only got 300 subscribers, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much everything I have to say. I do hope you enjoyed. Hopefully I went into enough detail, and hopefully I was brief enough to remain at least somewhat interesting. I understand that my voice isn't exactly the most amazing to listen to. But yeah, it's hopefully I was brief enough to keep this interesting. So yeah, hopefully if you're a new player, you found this somewhat informative and useful. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like if you did enjoy the video and find it informative. And bye for now.